Dessen, tell me what the Premier Sihlezi Galala has said so far. I saw him speaking to the media a short while ago.
He was just here updating us on exactly where we are as a province right now, and unfortunately it's not good news. He has said categorically that this has set the province back after the April floods, the recent rains this weekend taking the province many steps back. I mean, just look at the area that we are in now. We are in Mhloti. You're looking at the Mhloti waterworks, and this, you'll recall, was one of the areas where, like many other areas in Durban, where temporary measures had to be put in place to restore the water supply after it was cut off by those April floods. Now, this has caused further damage, so all of those temporary measures have been broken. This is the case in many other areas as well. The Premier is saying that in areas where work had started, for example, the infrastructure, the roads, the rebuilding, all of that now having to stop over the weekend. He says also that it's going to add to the final bill. Remember, that had already run into the hundreds of millions in terms of repairs. Now this is only going to make it worse. They haven't quantified the damage yet, but so far it seems that this time around the province, or many parts of the province, were fortunately spared. It seems that the worst affected was here in the north, as well as areas like the Bluff, and that's where he's going to be going to now. We were talking to some of the residents in this broader area now, and they were just recounting some of the experiences that they had over the weekend. I mean, if you look at this place, or if you know Mhloti from what it used to be as a tourist attraction, as a place where you had a Sunday lunch where people retire and others visit when they come to Durban, to what it is now, it's actually a dramatic change. Some of the houses here are literally hanging on by a thread, but you'll remember that well because we brought you those visuals the last time around. It's now been exacerbated by these recent rains.
And Dessen, did he say anything about the death toll from this past weekend, the flooding from this past weekend? Is it still one person who unfortunately lost their lives?
The death toll for now remains at one person. That's a person that was found in the Inanda area. That is directly related to these recent rains. They say at present they don't have any other reports on anyone else that is affected. I also did try to get in a question about how many people were displaced. We were told that we will get those figures at a later stage during the course of the day, because that's also something that's very important. You remember the first time around there were about 40,000 people that were displaced. Many of those are still in those temporary situations. They are in community halls, in churches and other places where they could be housed. So we're waiting for those numbers, and I think the other important bit is missing people. That number doesn't seem to have changed yet, but we must also bear in mind that this is a very fluid situation. The numbers are always changing, and that could change even in this instance as those reports start to come through.
And Dessen, just lastly, you said you spoke to some of the community members in that particular area. Did they talk to you about the anxiety that they feel every time the South African Weather Service has a flood warning?
They did. I mean, that's definitely one of the things that they touched on, because they know how badly they've been affected. And remember, a place like Mhloti has not just been affected now in these recent floods that we saw in April. They've also been affected before. And in the past, it's also been severe damage. Remember, a lot of these apartments are near the water's edge. It's literally a road and the shore that's separating them from the water. And on the other side, there's a bank behind most of them, and that's where the water seems to flow down. I mean, we were just at a complex now, not far from here, where there are vehicles hanging off the side. There are residents desperately trying to get their belongings out. They said that they knew that it was going to be bad when the rains came on Saturday. One of the residents describing to me how they were going to an engagement party on Saturday, and they left when things were still fairly dry. And when he came back, when that resident came back, he says that his driveway getting into that complex had turned into a river. And when they got to their house, when he walked in to try to retrieve some of their belongings, he said he was up to his chest deep in water. And that's a very scary sight. I actually went inside there a short while ago, and at the back of his property, as you walk out of the patio door, it's a huge drop. That's where the land has completely disappeared, and you can see the extent of the damage to those properties. So definitely lots of fear about whether it's going to happen again or what would happen the next time around.
Senior reporter Desin Tathia in Umdloti. Let's leave it there for now. Of course, Desin is following the premiere of KZN Floods around, and he'll be able to give us more updates as the day progresses.